She was like, yeah, you clocked very accurately what was going on there. I saw Leva and Michaels the next day in the VIP room, and she still was like, girl, she was like, I can't believe that. That was crazy. Hello, and welcome into another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, bringing on the latest. The latest. What's the rest of it? In reality TV and pop culture, that's where I'm at. Zombie. I've never been more exhausted in my entire life. Truly, period, dot. I've been in the bed. When I got home from BravoCon, I slept for 12 straight hours. Lights out at 8:30. Didn't wake up until 8:30 the next day. Glasses on, laptop in bed, trying to edit some interviews that I got to do. Did you guys see that? We'll get to it. Don't know what day it is, don't know what time it is, don't know what time zone I am in. Here's what I do know. You know what tomorrow is? Actually, today, you're listening. Do you know what today is? Big day, people. It's surgery day. Yeah, right now, as you're listening to this episode of MPT, I'm probably put under the anesthesia. They're going up my nose with a little camera, and they're going to deflate me, pretty much. They're going to fix my deviated septum, my thinning bone. So send some T's and P's your girl's way. I'm scared, terrified, honestly. Who likes to have surgery? Not me. I don't like IVs, even though I know it's just going to be a little pinch. And then I'm going to be asleep. I don't like it. I don't like the thought of it. You know why? Because one time I watched a movie called Awake where the anesthesia didn't work. And then the guy had open heart surgery and he realized that his wife was double crossing him, was like some sort of agent trying to steal all of his money. And he figured this out because he was awake during his procedure because the anesthesia didn't work. So now that's what I think is going to happen to me. I really shouldn't put it out there into the universe. So we're going to retract that statement, okay? That's not going to happen. I'm going to be out cold. I'm going to wake up in a haze, in a fog. I'm not going to know where I am, and it's going to be the best sleep of my life. I need it. I need it. After the things that I had to endure over the weekend. Now, just to be straight up, we're not going to have an MPT episode next week. It's Thanksgiving. I'm going to be recovering from my surgery, but hopefully we'll be back and ready to rock and roll after that. But it's been such a long time coming, you know, a year and a half of sounding like I need to blow my nose, which I do, by the way. I do. A year and a half of, y'all know those crazy menthol cough drops that literally make it smell like I've been guzzling gasoline. I had to pop those menthols in the middle of BravoCon and then go on the blue carpet and interview Sonia Morgan. You're kidding me, right? All weekend long, I was looking over at David and I'm like, does my breath smell? And he was like, yeah, it does. I'm like, great. Wonderful. But hopefully this is it. Hopefully this is the final straw. Hopefully after the surgery, I will be better. I won't have to clear my throat every 5 seconds. Won't have cough attacks. We'll be able to breathe again. So we're looking forward to it, but your girl's probably going to be down and out for a couple of days. I have absolutely no notes today. Well, I have like some bullet points, but you know, normally my type A personality, I have 8 to 10 pages worth of notes written. We're just going to rip it today, baby. We're just going to let it fly. It's going to be as chaotic as my 3 days in Las Vegas. Before we talk about the BravoCon recap, the biggest moments, I do want to talk about some hot goss that's going on right now, some hot topics that's going on right now, starting with season 3 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Now, I'm only about 4 episodes into it because BravoCon has been my personality for the past week. It's like, who can even think of something else? And you know what? You know what really ticks me off is I'm subscribed to 18 million streaming services that cost $18 million. The only one that I can actually download episodes on is Netflix. The only one. So I'm sitting there watching Selling the OC, watching Polly go on a date with Luke Gulbranson, wanting to just pass out in the airplane, but I can't because I have a mouth breather next to me. When I really wanted to be watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives season 3, I pay an arm and a leg for Hulu Live. Oh, but you can't download Hulu Live unless you're on Hulu XX Max Plus Extreme. And that'll be $1,700 a month. That's how it feels. And I'm over it. I'm over it. Same with you, Peacock. I'm talking to you too, Peacock. Okay, I need to apologize for like the level of which I got amped. Again, sleep deprived. But anyways, 4 episodes in to Secret Lives of Mormon Wives season 3. And like, who is this Michelangelo person? And why is he taking so much time on season 3? He was on Vanderpump Villa, had a thing with Demi, had an emotional affair with Jessi. They're taking lie detector tests. They're going to dinner together. I'm like, who is this greased up man on my television screen? I'm not the biggest Vanderpump Villa fan. That's the first kind of, if I was a judge on the X Factor, that would have been my first buzzer moment. I'm not a huge fan of Vanderpump Villa. So I really didn't love the fact that Marciano was like weaseling his way into Secret Lives. And then, he sits down with Layla at the end of season 2 and drops this bomb that he's been hooking up with Jessi. Then it comes out that they had an emotional affair, whatever. Then he says, oh yeah, I kissed me in the Vanderpump Villa. But then he gets on this, I don't know if it's like this phone call with me, I can't remember. It feels a little bit like a fever dream. But he's like, yeah, Demi and I were conspiring and now she's not even filming. That tells me you're a liar. I mean, we already knew that he was a liar, but I just feel like even though they're hooking him up to lie detector tests and all these things, like I can't believe a single word that comes out of this Jax Taylor wannabe's mouth. Okay. I was really surprised that Jessi admitted that she was having this emotional affair with Marciano. And, I'm like I'm learning that, and I know this, that where there's smoke, there is fire, but I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt, because there were all these Reddit threads a while back saying, oh, we saw Marciano and Jessi kissing at Tom Tom or whatever, and it just sounds like an acid trip, right? Not that I do that, but it sounds like that's what's going on there. Like there's no way that Jessi is kissing Marciano while she's married to Jordan in Tom Tom. Turns out it was true. So do I stop giving people the benefit of the doubt? Maybe I should. Maybe I should. And I haven't gotten to this part yet, but everybody's talking about how Jordan reacts when he finds out that Jessi did the lie detector test and sat down at dinner with her. And like I said, I haven't watched it yet, but the consensus that I'm getting is that he's really mad about it. And the girls are like, oh, I can't believe that he's this mad about it. You can't? What do you mean? That man should be blocked from Jessi's phone, blocked from Jessi's Instagram, never to be spoken of again. And they're just like shooting the breeze at the Cheesecake Factory is what it seems like, So can't wait to see how the rest of that pans out. Stassi Schroeder is hosting the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives reunion. You love to see it. And not Nick Viall. You love to see it. And if you listen to my Nick Viall seriously rant, you know why I'm even more excited about that. Look, they like to keep it all in the family, right? We went down this road with Taylor Frankie Paul being announced as the Bachelorette. Alex Cooper, she's got this dating show coming out on Hulu. There's this new docuseries. It's like a comedy docuseries centered around Stassi that's going to come out on Hulu. I believe it's called Stassi Says. So they like to keep it in the Hulu family. Nick is not on Hulu. He's actually doing a Netflix show. So I just think at the end of the day, a show about women and for women should probably be hosted by a woman. That's just my personal opinion. You call me crazy, call me controversial, but that's just my humble opinion. Let's talk about Whitney Leavitt getting eliminated this week from Dancing with the Stars, right off the heels of the season 3 drop. The consensus out there is that season 3 did not paint Whitney in the best light, and the cards were already stacked against her. this season of Dancing with the Stars, she came into it already somewhat of a villain from season 2 and season 1 of Secret Lives. Then she's just incredible, and people are haters and they don't like people to be incredible on Dancing with the Stars. I agree to a certain extent. You like to see some growth. But, if somebody is amazing from week 1, although Robert Irwin is amazing from week 1, I think his personality kind of softens the fact that he was already really good. And he didn't have prior dance experience. But anyways, people did not like Whitney from the get-go. They were saying her scores showed that the judges were favoriting her, winning the dance-off, stuff like that. Mark, there's this conspiracy theory that Mark only came back because Whitney was going to be his partner, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So there were already all the odds stacked against Whitney, and then season 3 drops, and it's revealed that Whitney, honestly, I'm on episode 4, and I haven't seen Whitney once in season 3, so this isn't like verbatim what happens, but I've seen the clips, right, of her saying, well, I have to be on Secret Lives to be considered for Dancing with Stars. So she comes back to the show. And I don't know how the other girls received that. Like I said, I haven't gotten to that part yet, but the audience reaction was like, oh, she's an opportunist, whatever. It's like, yeah, everybody in Hollywood is an opportunist. Like, it just is what it is. I understand it. She is forthcoming with it. Derek said on last night's episode, good on you for actually speaking what you want, going for it, because a lot of people wouldn't have the courage to do so in case, it didn't pan out, or if it would fail. My issue with Whitney admitting that isn't like the opportunistic factor of it, because we've all been there, done that, whatever. My issue with it is if it would have taken the opportunity away from somebody else, which we don't know that, right? They did put 2 of them on the show, Whitney and Jen. I don't know who else auditioned on the cast, but let's say it's not a good example because Taylor's doing The Bachelorette. Let's say Taylor's not doing The Bachelorette and she auditioned for Dancing with the Stars, and they were like, okay, well, we're going to pick 2. And Whitney is going to be one of them. If I were Taylor and I was like, well, she only came back to the show for this reason, I would feel burned. Just based off a feeling of having 2 of them on, it feels to me like Whitney didn't take away somebody else's spot, but you never know. That's the only, moral issue that I have with Whitney admitting that. But she was eliminated, and people think that it's because of this season 3 drop. I'm not going to say that it's not. It certainly didn't help her. That's for sure. I think it's pretty blatantly obvious that Dancing with the Stars is a popularity contest. Obviously, that's how Andy Richter lasted so long. It has become something very different from what it originally started out as. And it's like, I don't know if the producers are going to want to change anything about it because it's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You know what I mean? But I've been saying it, because they score on this weird system, everybody's so close in scores that the judges' scores don't really matter. It all comes down to the audience vote. And people really disliked Whitney and Mark. I was never one of those people. I can watch Whitney and be amazed by her and love Mark's choreography and all the things. I think she deserved to be in the finale. She was like the best dancer. I wouldn't have voted for her to win, which again, am I being a little bit hypocritical because I'm voting for my favorites? It's going to be Robert Irwin, maybe Alex. I will vote for Jordan, but I don't want her to win over Robert or Alex. You know what I mean? So there definitely is some of that personal bias, personal favoritism. It's not just strictly about who is the best dancer. But it was really surprising. I'm so curious about how the other Mom Talk girlies reacted to that. I mean, I know I saw Demi was sad about it. I saw somebody else that kind of surprised me. But like Jen Affleck, they're not talking, I don't think. So, I don't know. We're headed into the finale. Dylan Efron, Robert Irwin, Alex Earl, Elaine Hendricks, Jordan Childs. Robert Irwin has to win. He has to. You guys, everybody listening to this podcast, 10 times, 10 toes down, 10 fast fingers, Robert to 21523 next week. Okay. I would love Alex Earl to get second. When Alex Earl was crying about it being over, so was I. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life when Dancing with the Stars is over. It brings me, it's actually one of the only reality competition shows right now that brings me like peace and joy, you know? I know we're all in an uproar over this elimination, but it's true. It just brings me peace, happiness. It's something my husband and I can watch together, and he actually enjoys it, you know? Seeing Dylan Efron's little hips rumba away, doing the cha-cha, his little butt shakes. Like, what am I going to do on my Tuesday nights when I'm not seeing Dylan Efron do his little butt shakes? I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to find a hobby. Nah. All right, let's get into the biggest moments of BravoCon 2025. Let me start by saying this. I'm glad it's every 2 years because your girl could not do this every year. Your girl could not do this. If you've never been to BravoCon, it is all consuming, okay? It is nonstop, jam-packed, like soul-sucking in the best way. You don't eat. You don't eat. You don't sleep. You're running all over the Caesars Forum Convention Center. You're whipping your phone out. If you do eat, it's $17 for a bag of Sun Chips. And that's your day. You know, you're popping in from panel to panel to panel, just waiting for the big moments to happen. I have gone as a, not as a VIP, like you pay for your ticket, although I did get invited this year from Bravo, which is very nice and very, I can't even talk about it, but I had to pay for David's ticket, you know, $1,500, okay? And I just feel like if I had to pay that much money, I don't know that I would have been like thrilled with the experience. I probably wouldn't go all weekend long. It's just a lot. It's a lot of money. And like the VIP, there are definite perks. You get to sit closer in the panels. You know, anytime there's a line, you have a shorter line. There's like this VIP lounge that you get to hang out in. But I will say, because I've been to BravoCons past, like the VIP experience kind of keeps getting less and less. From a consumer standpoint, like as a content creator, this year was by far the best for me personally. But like if you're spending money, I would just do like a VIP one day type of thing. And then watch the panels. I would do the add-ons, like going to one of the live tapings of Watch What Happens Live is so much fun. They do the best value for money is the Bravo Palooza. So if you need like just a general admission ticket, but you want to get face-to-face interaction with Bravo Lebs, you must do a Bravo Palooza. It's like a more casual, it's kind of like a happy hour vibe. You know, they're passing appetizers and there's like 20 Bravo Lebs in this smaller room in the convention center. That's the best bang for your buck if you want to get like one-on-one FaceTime. But like last year in the VIP lounge, you had a lot of those interactions. You didn't really have that this year. And I think it's because probably, you know, every year Bravo asks for fan feedback. I'm thinking they probably ask for talent feedback as well. And I will say, if I was one of the talent, I would feel completely overwhelmed by BravoCon because people are like swarming you constantly, yelling your name, asking for photos. So I can understand that they maybe wanted the talent to be a little bit more removed this year in the big public settings. But anyways, enough about the logistics. Let's get into all the things that broke the internet this past weekend. Let's start with my viral moment. Yeah, we had a little viral moment. Southern Charm, Southern Hospitality, viral moment. This is what happened. We were at the Southern Hospitality panel and, you know, you can line up for fan questions. And I was sitting there, I was watching them. You know, I love Southern Hospitality. I've had Joe Bradley on the pod, met him, met Maddie Reese. Great people. And the show is continuing to gain popularity. So I was sitting in their panel and it was like a light bulb moment went off in my head. And I remembered about this video that I posted way back when. I think it had to have been like 2021. When Southern Hospitality first was announced, because you guys remember on an episode of Southern Charm, there was this big Christmas party. Craig threw a Christmas party, and there was a really weird edit about Leva and Naomi not having a seat at like the main cast table, and it caused this huge fight. And I just remember watching that episode thinking, this is so like diced up a botched edit put together because none of this makes sense. Like, you cannot tell me that Leva and Naomi would really be causing a scene about a seat. Like, I can imagine them being annoyed about it, but to the point where Leva gets kicked out of the party, no way. Absolutely no way. So I never bought it. You know, I went back and looked at the timestamps around the same time of articles that were coming out, and I realized that this Christmas party was around the same time that Leva's spinoff got announced, Southern Hospitality. And you know, there's always been rumors of spinoffs when it comes to Southern Charm. You know, some people thought that it would be Craig and his business at Snowing Down South, which it's like, no offense, you guys know, I've been a Craig fan forever, not so much now anymore as I used to be, but it's like watching people work at a pillow store is not that, it's like not that intriguing. You know, I think there will be a little bit more drama with people working at a restaurant and bar and nightlife situation. But I just always thought, you know, this fight seems more about Leva talking about her spinoff, maybe other people talking about her spinoff, because Craig says you're making the party about you. And I'm like, the seat thing, it just never checked out to me. So I posted a video about it and I got some confirmation likes. You know what I mean? It was getting pushed to the right people. You know, no one ever came out and said, you're right, this is what happened. But the right people were seeing it and the right people were liking it. So in the moment, I just had the light bulb moment. I was like, I'm going to ask. So I went up to the microphone when they asked for fan questions and I asked. I explained the whole situation that I just did. And then I said, Leva, I want to know, when Craig said you're making the party about you, was it really about the seat or was it because people were talking about your spinoff? And the whole cast was shook. Joe Bradley was like, hoo, hoo, hoo. You know, they were all doing the clock little hand gesture, you know, that the Gen Zs are doing these days. And I was like, I just absolutely crushed it. Like, not to blow my own horn, toot my own horn, but nailed it. And Leva was shook. She was like, yeah, you clocked very accurately what was going on there. I saw Leva and Michaels the next day in the VIP room, and she still was like, girl. She was like, I can't believe that. That was crazy. She was like, they brought it up on Watch What Happens Live, which is going to air on Wednesday. So I was like, wow. It got over 1 million views on my page. I think it got over like 300,000 on Bravo TV's page posted it. I was like, wow. Wow. And there was some pushback because Leva said to me, you should be a real reporter. And I said, I am. But I didn't take any offense to it. I know a lot of people in the comments were like, she is a real reporter. I don't think she meant it the way that it came out, or at least I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think she just I saw like a post interview that she did with Parade magazine where she was like, yeah, she should work for CNN. So I think that's kind of what she meant, like a real investigative reporter. But I said, let's start the Bravo News Network. I would work there. I would be a little reporter there. And, you know, just so you know, I do have a degree, you guys, in broadcast journalism. I mean, not that that makes me Barbara Walters, but in this instance, I was, okay? I was the Barbara Walters of BravoCon in that moment. Let me also just say, after that whole thing, I got some DMs from some people on Southern Hospitality talking about the question. It seemed to be a big topic of conversation behind the scenes. And if you want to know what those DMs said, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow on Bravo Friday. That's actually out now. Patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks if you want more tea. Look, I've been at BravoCon all weekend. I have mastered the art of a tease. So if you want to know what the DM said from some of those cast members, Patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. Anyways, we went to the Bravos on, when was that? Friday night, which was amazing. It was the Bravo Awards show. So much fun. So many of the creators got to go and sit together. You couldn't record anything, couldn't take pictures, although there was like recordings afterwards. And I'm like, this is so annoying. I didn't take any videos, but people are out there doing it. And you know, the big moments from that, Karen Huger returned, right? And I said on my page, I believe that there's going to be like a big return for Karen because we got the Real Housewives of Potomac trailer. She is going to do this sit-down interview with Andy. They did film whenever she got released from serving her 6-month sentence for a DUI. And I said she's going to make this grand entrance somewhere. I ended up being at the Bravos. You know, people were screaming, cheering, standing up. I was like, okay, this is a little much. Like, she did just get released from jail because of her 4th DUI. Like, standing ovation is kind of crazy. But I also am a Karen Huger fan, so I can't say that I wasn't excited to see her Um, Also, Vicki got her orange for season 20. That was, I mean, an iconic moment. Again, people were just standing up, cheering. The crowd was going crazy. I got the chance to interview Vicki on the Bravo blue carpet, where, my conspiracy theory is that this was the plan all along because they needed like a moment for season 20, especially coming off the disaster that was season 19. So I feel like they were kind of waiting for this moment to ask Vicki to come back in a very public way, for a very, iconic season 20, the OG of the OC. So that's my conspiracy theory. If you weren't able to see my interviews with Vicki, they're on my social media pages, Morgan P Talks. The creator carpet, speaking of the interviews, I mean, like, talk about just, I was so scared. I was terrified. I was nervous. And it wasn't like I thought I was going to do a bad job. It was like the anxiousness of waiting for it to happen. You know what I mean? First of all, the fact that it was the last day. It's like in the back of your mind the entire time that you're going to have to interview 50 Bravo Lebs coming at you, like one after another. So the mental stress of that was kind of a lot. And they gave me like 50, literally 50 people. It didn't end up being 50. It ended up being probably half, 25 or so, I'd say. But I was really looking forward to interviewing Melissa and Joe because obviously Teresa and Melissa was the talk of the town this weekend. Zach Wickham from the Valley, like, he was my favorite interview because he just did not care. We were only supposed to be with them for a short amount of time, but he's like, I don't care. I'll sit here and talk to you until they literally kick me out. So we did like 3 or 4 different cuts because he just kept talking and kept giving me the tea. So that interview is coming. I mean, how many housewives? Luann, Sonia, Vicki, like I said, Melissa, Stacy from the Real Housewives of Potomac, Captain Jason, Aisha, who else? Shamia from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I mean, they just kept coming. It was amazing. I was not starstruck until I saw Amaya Papaya. Oh my gosh, you guys. When I saw Amaya, Iris, and Jeremiah walking down the blue carpet, and by the way, my microphone stopped working. Literally, David and I were panicked. We were swapping out microphones. We were like, because there's like this little insert that you have to insert on your phone. We were swapping out inserts. We were restarting our phone. We were restarting the apps. Nothing was working. They were like inching closer. I was on the verge of tears. Absolute panic, pandemonium. Like, if you look at our camera roll, we have tons of videos of us, like the Got Any Games meme, where your face is so close to your phone because we were stressed, yelling into this microphone, mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, pounding on it. Nothing was coming out. I seriously was hyperventilating, almost crying. We got it situated in the end. And thank God for David. I mean, he's just like the biggest angel on earth. He said to me when we woke up that day, he was like, Morgan, whatever you say to me in the next 2.5 hours, I'm not going to take personally. Like, if you need to yell at me, if you need to unleash on me, I'm not going to take it personal. Like, I understand this is a high stress environment for you. I'm here to be whatever you need. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And I was losing it in that moment. So he got it all situated. I did get in trouble by the Love Island PR people because of a question I asked, which kind of shook me. Like, if you saw the interview and you thought it was, I shouldn't like be pointing out the flaws, but I felt it was kind of, I didn't ask what I wanted to ask because I was thrown off because mid-question they were like, don't ask that. So I was like, oh, okay. And it kind of threw me off for the rest of the interview. But basically what I was wanting to ask Jeremiah was, Ace was one of his biggest ops in the villa, and Jeremiah was confirmed to be on Beyond the Villa. So I wanted to ask him, some of the guys that you were ops with is not going to be on Beyond the Villa season 2. So I was just wondering your reaction to them not being there. And they stopped me mid-question and they were like, not them, not Jeremiah, like the people behind the ropes. They were like, we don't want to talk about anybody that's not going to be on the show. And I was like, okay. Which I feel like they were trying to anticipate that people were going to ask about Hurrdat because of all the controversies that she's been in lately. I wasn't going to ask about Hurrdat, but I can appreciate the fact that they didn't want anybody to go there. So I had to pivot, and I had my questions for the Love Island people memorized. I didn't write them down. So I had to come up with a question for Jeremiah off the top of my head. So looking back on it, I wish I would have asked him something different because it was a basic question, but They were lovely. And can I just tell you, after the short interview, because we also were only supposed to have like 1 minute with these people, some went longer, some didn't, but we wrapped up. I was like, can I get a picture, whatever? Amaya turns to me and she's like, honey, your eyes, they're so beautiful. What color are your eyes? Their handlers are like, come on, we got to go. And Amaya's just like, no, I want to talk about her eyes. Iris comes over and she's like, yes, and that bronze shimmer on your eyes, it makes them really pop. I was like, am I in the villa? Are we getting ready? And the surveillance cameras are watching me and the girls are hyping me up in this moment, because that's how I felt. The sweetest girls ever. Loved them. Still stand 10 toes down for Maya Papaya and Iris. The shadiest interview of the weekend came from Camille Grammer and Denise Richards. Now, I don't know if I should even post it because Bravo's like, look, we want to keep this light. We want to keep this fun. We don't want it to be too shady, because we want the talent to want to come back next year for our creator red carpet, which I get. I totally get. This interview wasn't light or fun. I mean, it started that way. But then I asked about Erica, specifically with Camille. I asked about Erica because she had been saying some stuff about Camille over the weekend. So I asked Camille's response to it. And, Camille, in true Camille fashion, gave me a Camille answer. And like, if you know, you know. And I'm like, wow, this is like some tea. And this really makes me feel like I'm in the middle of a fight on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But I don't know if I should post it, because Bravo told us not to do this. So again, I'm going to post it to the Patreon because you guys need to see it. And who knows, after I get some feedback on the Patreon, maybe I'll post like an edited version of it on the pages, because it was just too good. Okay, other like little random moments that are too good to not talk about. I did meet Shep in Austin at a hotel bar with Lindsay Hubbard. So Shep was very nice. He was very talkative. Him and David talked a lot about South Africa, because last time we were at BravoCon, that is when Shep had just gotten back from South Africa. Shep was inebriated 2 BravoCons ago, like got this close to David's face and like was like spitting pretty much in his face, not intentionally, but talking about Africa. And David was like, well, I don't think you remembered that conversation, so let's have it again. But Shep was very, very nice. We have a mutual friend that I went to school with, and they know. So I was like, hey, we have a mutual friend and I love this girl. And they were like, oh yes, she is an angel. So we all bonded about that. Austin too. Austin was also nice. I would say a little aloof, but I do think that he was intoxicated. So, I mean, it was Sunday night. Everybody had been going all weekend long. So I feel like I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like he was not rude by any stretch of the imagination. Like he sat there and he talked to us, but he also was not like the most attentive listener. You guys know, like when people are drunk, they're not really paying attention to what you're saying. So overall, had a good interaction there. Nicest people of the weekend when it comes to like meeting people at the venue. You guys know I ride hard for my summer house crew, but it has to go to Carl Radke and Wes Wilson. Let me first say that Carl is like the most normal, nice, down to earth Bravo leb that I have come across. Sometimes I feel like awkward talking to these people because you don't actually know them, right? But you think that you do. But like Carl has never made me feel that way in any interaction that I've ever had with him. He feels like you're just talking to a normal person, a friend. So I appreciate that. And then Wes Wilson, which I saw he was getting, somebody tweeted like that Wes Wilson was not a man of the people at BravoCon. I have to full-heartedly disagree with that. I mean, even at the Summer House panel, after it was over, people normally like rush the stage. They even had to put barricades up because people are insane and crazy and try to get on the stage. But anyways, there was like probably 100 fans there. And, you know, David and I were sitting in the second row when we were like, we're not going to go up because there's just so many people and I don't feel like pestering, you know, because you have to. In that atmosphere, you have to be a little bit aggressive to get people to notice you. And I was just, by that time, I was like, I'm not doing it. As the crowd began to dwindle, it was like probably 20 minutes later, there was just a few people left, like maybe 4 or 5. And West was still there talking to people, as was Carl, as was Jessi Solomon, who I didn't get to speak to in that moment. But Wes talked to us for like 5 minutes. So I really disagree with that person's opinion that they were just there for, you know, the other influencers or Bravo Lebs or whatever. West is a really nice guy. You know, I know that there is a lot of opinions about the stuff with Sierra and, you know, and like dating around now that he's a Bravo star and whatever. But let me just tell you, every interaction that I've ever had with West has been nothing but positive. So he gets my gold star for the week along with Carl. Let's talk about Kyle and Amanda. Okay, because right before BravoCon, this big announcement breaks that Kyle and Amanda reportedly, per Page 6, are not living together. And it's just like, of course that happens, you know, coming into BravoCon. I don't know where I want to start. Okay, I'll start here. I did see Kyle on Thursday night at a creator event less than 12 hours after this story dropped. And there was, people were talking about it. Kyle was talking about it, and he wasn't talking about it in a like confirm or deny type of thing, which people weren't really asking that, but he was talking about, you know, being annoyed by the story and it coming out right as BravoCon was happening. Amanda was not there. I will say, whenever I got the creator blue carpet list, Kyle was on the list. He didn't actually end up going to it, but Amanda was not. And I thought that was kind of weird at first. And this was way before this story ever came out, right? I'll tell you more about the Kyle conversation on Patreon too. It's just not something that I want to like broadcast to the world like that. But I have this conspiracy theory because as I was talking to some of the Summer House people over the weekend, I was kind of starting to put the filming puzzle pieces together, because you guys know that they're having this spinoff, right? So they filmed Summer House, and then I believe directly after Summer House, they started filming In the City. So the three of them, Lindsay, Kyle, and Amanda, seemingly filmed for 5 months straight from Summer House into In the City. And I don't know who else is on In the City. Bravo did like kind of a rogue post of the fact that the three of them were going to be on the show. That dropped on Thursday too. It was like Kyle, Amanda, and Lindsay confirmed cast members for In the City. And I was like, this doesn't feel like the typical way that Bravo announces, you know, a cast of a brand new show with just photos of them in their Summer House pictures. You know, it just fell off. And Kyle even said at that meetup that announcement kind of fell off. But my theory is, and I could have misheard, okay? So don't take it to the bank, but I think filming wrapped very close to BravoCon starting, maybe even the day of. So I would not be surprised if a producer of In the City leaked that story prior to BravoCon. Because based on the information that I was getting, they were filming up until that moment. And you know, it's like, what are the chances that that story drops right before BravoCon? Well, if they're filming a new show, I feel like the chances go up a little bit. You know, I will say every panel that Kyle and Amanda were at, they very much, I mean, they sat together. They were like, we're still together. People were asking. The Summer House cast was getting annoyed with people asking. Like, somebody shouted about it from the seats in the panel, like, what's the status of your marriage? And Sierra was like, shut up, you know, so they're not having it. Everyone's like, Amanda and Kyle are together. You know, in the Summer House panel, they said Kyle would have the most to answer for this upcoming season of Summer House. So it's like a tale as old as time. And, you know, I've seen clips of Amanda saying things like, Yeah, Kyle and I are kind of going through it. When are we not? That's not normal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never rooting for a marriage to fail. I like Kyle. I like Amanda. But it's like your marriage should bring you joy and happiness and peace and comfort, not anxiety and fights and arguing all the time and being mad at each other. You know, that's not actually a good marriage. So, I don't know. My conspiracy theory is that we'll see some of that play out on the first season of In the City. Did I miss anything? That's all my notes, guys. That's all she wrote in the notes. But of course, like I said, going to give you some even more tea on Bravo Friday that is out now because I should be under anesthesia right about now. So if you want more, patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. You can either subscribe to the Bravo tier or the Love You Like Assist tier, which gets you Bachelor, Survivor, and Bravo. Have a great Thanksgiving. Eat a lot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to smell the food. I hope I am. I hope I'm able to taste. Can't be worse than how I smell and taste right now. So again, send some T's and P's your girl's way for her surgery to go well. If you haven't left a review, please do so. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I mean, truly, I would not have gotten any of the opportunities that I got this weekend at BravoCon if it wasn't for your dedication and support of this podcast and the page. So if you haven't left a review, a little 5-star boop boop, a little love you like assist, because you know I do. See you later.